And let's hope this thing is working right. Mike, check everybody how y'all doing. Trying to make sure this thing is working properly. What's going on, everybody? Can you hear me? Can you see me? I don't know if you can see me. I don't know if you can hear me. What's going on? How y'all doing out there? No, I got to do my mic checks. No, I got to do my mic checks. Sound like everything is working, but I'm going to give it a couple minutes anyhow to make sure that YouTube sends off the notifications like they promised me that they will. But we're going to see in a hot second or two because I'm trying to check and see if anybody can hear me. I should get something in the chat messages. If I don't get it in the chat, then I should get something on the phone. I got a couple people texting me. And if not, then we're gonna have to start all over. So what's going on? How y'all doing out there tonight? You may have missed me earlier. I came on live earlier today to do a little something different. Shared a interesting experience at a sushi spot here in Richmond, Virginia. How y'all doing out there? We supposed to be getting this started live and direct, and for some reason, it don't look like anything is working. So we're gonna do some couple of checks around here and see what's going on. Looking for the live button. Okay, so we are live and direct. That's great. Now let me make sure. Oh, I know what's going on. So as we slow walk tonight's procedures, let me make sure. Let me try to do this. Let me see what's going on when we try to make this little change. Okay, that part is working. The mic is right. Let me get situated here tonight. May have to do a couple things differently. I've been working on some new software, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are checking me out live or catching the restream, just give me a couple of minutes while I'm working on getting this thing situated. Trying to send off. I was supposed to send off my own notifications to try to get this thing working, and that didn't necessarily jump off the way it was supposed to because computer glitches be what they be doing. Glitching. Life be glitching like that sometimes. But it's all good. I've been working on this entirely new setup. So how y'all doing out there tonight? This is what we're trying to get started. I want to talk about China. I'm talking about Africa and the strategic game that we as black people need to understand. And how can we as black America, as the diaspora, how can we get in on this game? or if we even should. Now, of course, if you know me, you know the answer is yes, we should. But before we get it started, ladies and gentlemen, I took a couple of moments to write up a little something, something, and I figured I would drop it out. I would drop it on you tonight, and you let me know what you think. It ain't long, trust me. I ain't going that far. But I said, hey, yo, it's time to stop fronting and face the facts. For we end up with nothing and just fade to black. Because while the rest of the world is making surgical chess moves, we out here on the scene sharing memes and dress moves. All right, I know I'm tripping. And that's only 4 bars. I may drop the rest later on another night. Who knows? But if you put something in the chat like, yo, don't quit your day job, then I may not write no more. But holler at me. Let me know what's going on, how you feeling. I got to do some extra double neck breaking activities tonight to make sure that everything is working. Share this stream. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me how you're feeling. Do you like what I got rocking and rolling on here with this new software? Okay, yeah, I see my new logos up there. But it's Shabazz with the proper perspective. And we're a couple of minutes in. We're talking about China and Africa, the strategic game Black people must understand and how Black America gets in. Because for real, Black people globally, we've been stuck playing checkers. Right now, China's making moves, and they're making moves in Africa. These moves represent the most consequential geopolitical power shifts since the Berlin Conference carved up our homeland. But here's what they don't want you to focus on. They got the new AFRICOM leader, Michael Striker or Strick. I don't know. I got to look his name up. I don't like the dude. But they got him. They sending him to play the bad guy as they set their attempts and set their plans and sights on how they can mess with Africa some more. They trying to put the smack down on Ibrahim Traore and Burkina Faso and the whole Sahel Union. But here's what they don't want you to focus on. The linking up with China isn't just about exploitation. And this is the reason everybody is running towards China. This is the reason nobody wants to deal with America. And this is, prior to orangutan. Uncle Sam don't have a good reputation prior to orangutan. He's definitely dragging it in through the mud right now. But what they don't want you to focus on is that linking up with China is not about exploitation. Almost all linkages with Uncle Sam is based entirely and squarely on exploitation. But when China enters the game, this is a mutual power play where Africa holds more cards than we've been led to believe. And I mean all of us. We as in the diaspora over here in the West, but I also mean we as in the continental brothers and sisters. So now for Black Americans, hopefully y'all tuning in. This is our generational opportunity. But we got to get our minds right first. So how y'all doing? That's my little intro. How y'all doing? This is Shabazz. And what we going to be breaking down tonight? Number one, step one, first thing, how China's resource grab is actually creating African leverage for the first time in, I would say, and okay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say for the first time in 500 years. Number two, I'm going to talk about why Black America must ignore the manufactured divides. And I'm talking Moors versus ADOS. I'm talking Black Native Americans. You see what my eyes is doing. It's time for us to focus on real power in and outside of this country. But another thing we're going to talk about tonight is exactly how do we build wealth and influence without waiting for permission from the same system that bombed Move. Hope y'all know who Move is. That sabotaged Gaddafi. Hope y'all know who that is. That assassinated Patrice Lumumba and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Y'all know the list goes on and on. So those are the three things I'm trying to break down tonight. I appreciate you tuning in. If you are in the chat room, let me know. Just give me a big shout out. Hopefully it'll pop up on the screen because I got this new software, you see. This new software is supposed to send me all of this stuff at the same time. That way, whether you're on, you might be on Instagram, you might be on 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 TikTok or what have you, but I'm supposed to get it all fed into my system. But since I'm bringing up Instagram, I might as well double check that I'm live over there. So here's what we gonna do. I'm not gonna play the intro again, but I am gonna hit the live button when I can find it. If I can find it. Yeah, it's giving me a problem. So as we proceed to give you what you need, I might try to do this on TikTok also. So I know it's horrible to sit around with dead space. So please forgive me. But like I said, so we going live, trying to get everything popping everywhere I possibly can. So I am definitely trying to see what's going on. How y'all doing out there tonight? This is Shabazz with the proper perspective, live on Instagram, live on TikTok, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. So if you're following, if you can hear me, let's see. For some reason, my camera ain't working. Let's see if I can get this turned around. That's just crazy. Well, maybe that's turned around. That's really crazy. I swear, every time you think you got something going properly, you do not. So, well, you can hear me, ladies and gentlemen. I guess that's the most important thing. That makes it more like a live podcast, doesn't it? I can't do too much more about it. It is what it is. You might be able to see me and hear me. You might only be able to see me. I'm sure that'll. I'm sure I will lose some brownie points. But shout out to everybody joining. Gabby, two kids, Isabella, Andrea. I wish I could turn my camera around. I ain't never seen that happen before. But you know, I mean, anyhow, trying to make sure all these things go off without a hitch. I see I clearly made some mistakes tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This is not my most productive stream, and I ain't messing with that. So how y'all doing? This is the proper perspective. We gonna get it started tonight. We talking about China, the African diaspora, the African continent, politics, not as usual. So section one, step one, shout out to Snipe TV. What's going on, nephew? What's popping? Shout out to Snipe TV. If you in within hearing range of my voice, please also give a shout out. Go to Snipe TV on YouTube and check his channel. So we getting this started. We trying to get everything working properly. And as I suspected, all of that software that they promised me was going to work perfectly ain't working perfectly at all. But that's okay. I'm gonna keep moving. So we're gonna start with an uncomfortable truth, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna start with an uncomfortable truth. The raw truth about resources. Resources is the name of the game. Africa's blood and the world's greed. That's what we're talking about. Did y'all know that 60% of the world's cobalt comes from the Congolese children being forced to dig with their bare hands into Mother Earth? Did y'all know that? Y'all know what cobalt is? Y'all know they call cobalt itself the blood diamond of Africa? Or no, well, let me say it this way. They call cobalt the blood diamond of your iPhone, the blood diamond of Tesla batteries. That's right. The Nazi man himself can't get nothing up off the ground without the blood diamond called cobalt. They get 60% of their cobalt from Africa. Now, it should go without saying that they ain't working this properly. They ain't paying respect and they ain't bartering good deals. Now, unfortunately, China got a hand in this too because China controls 70% of global cobalt refining. Now, there's a difference. They're in charge of 70% of global cobalt refining. And they ain't paying a great deal of money. They paying Congo less than three. They're paying the Congo. They're paying the people of the Congo less than 3% of the final product's value. I don't like that myself. But before we go too far out on a limb, let me break something down for you real quick. Shout out to BK Damsel on Instagram. Let me see. 39 new messages sitting up here on TikTok. I still can't figure out why. 52 views. I still can't figure out why TikTok is not giving me the most appropriate camera angle. It's like the idea and the option of turning your camera around has just totally disappeared. So I'm sort of stuck with, like, I can't even tell if you see me. If I turn my camera around, you still won't be able to see me. Shout out to everybody that's joining. Hopefully you enjoy the sound of my voice. But I know we are all creatures of habit. So if you are on TikTok and you're interested in this topic, you could slide on over to youtube.com/@the-proper-perspective, and then you can see everything I got on the screen because TikTok is really playing horrible games with me tonight. Same thing for those of you on Instagram. But real quick, let me tell you about, maybe you heard this already, I don't know, but there's a letter that's out there written by the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The president supposedly wrote this letter to Orangutan asking for a better cobalt deal. Now that's okay on the surface. That sounds fine. Although we gotta ask, was this a bold chess move? Could be a bold chess move, or it could just be an act of desperation dressed up in diplomacy. Now I would hope that that's not what's really at play, but it could very well be just that. Now, on one hand, it might have been a strategic way to pit Trump again. Now, on one hand, it might have been a strategic way to pit America against China, or to pit orangutan against Xi. Get both of these superpowers bidding over African resources, at least for once. But on the other hand, On the other hand, if it doesn't shift the wealth toward the people in the DRC, now I got respect for all, I try to have respect for all administrations, but I'm not going to have a lot of respect for any administration that's only looking out for the administration's pockets and not the people. I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm just saying if any strategic move doesn't shift the wealth toward the people, toward the citizens, whether we're talking about the US, Canada, China, the DRC, if the tax breaks, if the privileges only favor foreign entities, foreign companies, multinational corporations, if the kids still got to go out there and dig with their bare hands in the DRC, why would I support this letter that the DRC president sent off to orangutan? Nah, we ain't for that. Then it's just another shiny suit on the same old exploitation outfit. So this ain't about choosing a better colonizer. That ain't what we here for. This is the new world. It's about using the tug of war to pull something real for ourselves. Now I got a couple of bells going off. I need to check and see where my notifications are because I can't find them. And see if anything is really worth paying attention to. So let me repeat this. Just so we can all make sure, we on the same page. This 1 minute unfiltered DRC cobalt and chess moves. That's what we talk about. So the DRC president wrote Trump a letter about cobalt deals. Now, is that a genius strategy or just a desperation play in a different suit? Because if the kids are still digging with bare hands and China still walks off with the bag, I don't care who they're writing letters to. It's still checkers, not chess. Until Africa owns the table, it's all just a rerun of some very bad historical moves. Now, yeah, you got Gucci, Louis Vuitton, you got Apple. The entire supply chain depends on African resources with no equity for Africans. So, nah, we ain't trying to fall for the okie doke no more. But here's the twist. For the first time in history, China's offering something that Europe never did. What China is offering is infrastructure. And for that matter, Russia's offering Africa something that Europe never did, that America never did. Real logistic military assistance so that you can maintain your society. But Europe, the West, the global North, never did any of this, especially with infrastructure. China's not just offering roads. China's not just offering ports, although these are extremely important. They even offered, for instance, the Huawei. Now, correct me if I'm saying the name wrong. I'm not an expert in Chinese language, but Huawei, they're 5G networks. They offered those or installed those or took those to Zimbabwe because of Zimbabwe's $3 billion lithium processing plant. Of course, you got to give to get, but at least you're getting something that you need. So the question is the whole scheme one of 100% fairness? That's what we got to be looking for. Is the whole scheme of 100% fairness? Well, when you factor in how Europe treated Africa and Africans, home and abroad, when you factor in how America treats Africa, home and abroad, the answer is absolutely hell no when it comes to is it fair? But let's look at this, though. Let's make this comparison. When Britain stole diamonds, they left holes in the ground. Now, when China takes lithium, they're building factories. And depending on to a certain extent, or they could definitely do it even more, improving the roads in the area of the factory. That's African leverage. That's power. That's soft power leverage. And that's what's going on with these new deals with China. So let me give a shout out, son of Al Kebu. I guess there's like Al Kibalon, peace, on TikTok. Shout out Jimmy Finger for joining. Shout out Gina Vaden and Roscoe who joined on TikTok. Love the fact that y'all here. Can't see me, but I guess you can hear my voice. What's going on? What's going on? Well, let me just drop this jewel for you. Let me try to drop this jewel for you. I got some other notifications going off that I can't even see. So let me try to drop this jewel for you. Let me try to drop this. The stranger does not know where the rain beat the old man. The stranger does not know where the rain beat the old man. What that's what? That's an Ewe proverb for you. This proverb reminds us that only those who live through the storm truly know where it hurts. Outsiders, whether they come with aid or investment, let's make sure we understand who we calling an outsider. Outsiders, whether they come with aid or investment, they only see what's visible. They see the potholes. They see poverty. They might even see profit margins. But it's the people who suffer from within. Africans know the deeper bruises. We as Black people know the deeper bruises. The betrayal of fake independence, the betrayal of fake independence, the traps of debt, the trauma of resource extraction. These are the real potholes in my lawn, like De La Soul said. So when we negotiate, it can't just be about what they offer, what China offers, what Europe offers, what America offers. They don't get to just walk away with the bag and everything that they want. That's not even a negotiation. That's a shakedown. Nah, today's modern day times in the current affairs of the world, negotiations have to be grounded in what we remember, what we as Black people all across the globe, what Africans on the continent, in each country, what they remember about what happened and what needs to happen and what should have happened. That's where the real leverage lies. Africans, having lived this struggle, understand the nuance and the long game required for true leverage. Why am I saying all of this? Because I hear a whole lot of people trying to say, oh, no, about that China deal. Seems to me Africans don't need to be making no deals with China. Look, you make deals with the people who give you the best bargainings, the best options. You don't run around saying, "Well, yeah, I would rather take America." No, why? If they're not giving you a good deal, ain't no rather in it. And you got some people that's like, "Yeah, but China's not. They're not a democracy. Who cares?" The American democracy is paper thin at best. So let's calm down that whole I don't trust China. You trust them when it's time to buy them pocketbooks. But part two, section two, ladies and gentlemen, let me move this thing right on along. Hopefully you catch some value on what I'm doing here. Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe if you're on, especially if you're on YouTube. But if you're on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, like, share, and subscribe. If you're in the chat room, say something and let me see your name. I'll give you a shout out. If you got your own channel that you want to promote, I'll holler at you that way too. But now we're going to move into section two for tonight's discussion. Black America's Playbook. How to eat when you don't own the table. Y'all know it's always that big controversial conversation between men and women. What do you bring to the table? And now everybody's saying I am the table. I ain't going down that path. I'm just saying. What we gonna do? We gonna address the elephant in the room. Black Americans don't control a nation state. That's one of the problems that we as a people have. Woo, have we had a problem? After COINTELPRO, after the sabotage of the Black Panther survival programs, after the FBI's past and I would dare say current infiltration of activist circles, we know direct confrontation gets crushed. So how do we play? Well, one, we ain't gonna fall for the okie doke and run out there into them protest streets. We ain't doing that. At least not right now. Too soon. Let me give a shout out to Kaleem Shabazz for joining in on YouTube. And he makes a good point. He says BRICS is the future. The West is the past. You won't find me disagreeing with you right there, bro. Now he says, get the interest rates down. Well, that's what orangutan is supposed to be doing. If it takes BRICS taking over, I'm all for it. But I don't even know. I don't know if that's going to happen because of BRICS. I do believe orangutan is just going to do anything and everything he can to keep everything sky high. Only thing he want to bring down is the number of days he might have to go to jail. He want that to stay at 0 forever. And I definitely agree. No loans are needed. I'll say this: BRICS would definitely make sure that loans is a thing of the past when it comes to African countries, nations, the nation states, the governments, and so on and so forth. So I'm all for that. But I just want to but let me jump back onto this other thing now. So like I said, I'm talking about this. How do we as Black Americans, how do we even factor into this? Do we play a part into this? Well, let me just give you an example. Strategy number one. Let me say that. Strategy number one. Hold on, let me check something. Yeah, I didn't think so. The whole thing, yep. They lied to me about the software. Because these messages are coming through, but they ain't coming through on what I was told they would come through on. Strategy number one, the cultural hostage takeover. That's what we're going to call it. Now, y'all remember, I ain't saying nothing new to you right now, but Jay-Z took that NFL money after Kaepernick was blackballed. And they called it progress. Now, yeah, there were quite a few pundits in these Black social media streets that took shots at him for this. I ain't mad at them for doing that. But that didn't change the fact that he was working on a power move. And yeah, there were still plenty of others who supported his chess move. So, hey, you get in where you fit in. Imagine if that deal, here's why I'm bringing it up. Imagine if that Jay-Z deal, if that chess move required 10% of NFL merchandise revenue to go specifically to fund tech hubs in Black America. Or we want to be international on this channel. So we could build these tech hubs in Accra and Detroit at the same time, in Monrovia and Compton at the same time, in Brooklyn and Dakar at the same time. You see where I'm going? I told you I'm Pan-African in my mindset. I'm internationalistic. Our celebrities have quite a lot of power. Don't tell me they don't. Now, you may want to say, oh, yeah, but that's soft power. It may be soft power. But soft power is power nonetheless. Soft power is real. Why else you think the oligarchs at the wheel keep taking surgical propaganda swipes, slicing and dicing every major Black power broker that comes along the path, at least from the entertainment industries? Now, I dare say they do the same thing with the Black power brokers that don't hit the field through entertainment. We just may not necessarily see all that drama and trauma played out on news cycles because they're in circles that are relatively ignored by the news people. Yet and still, we got that power regardless. They ain't focused on putting every rich black man in jail for nothing. Now, some may arguably say they got more power than some African presidents. Especially if you start looking at some of the smaller nations. Yeah, this ain't a pat yourself on the back comparison. In some circles, I might would go that far to say it, and others I'll be like, no, I'm not. But outside of the field of soft power, at least, it is something to discuss. It is something to consider, but not for a braggadocio, not for the purpose of sticking out your chest. Because whether you got a lot of soft power or a little bit of soft power, if you ain't doing nothing with it, then it really don't matter. Because the goal is get the bag. The goal is get the bag, right? Meaning it's high time that we weaponized celebrity culture. It's high time that we weaponized celebrity influence, at least black celebrity culture, black celebrity influence, and bring the proverbial bacon home to the hood. Now, if I'm wrong, you tell me that in the chat. Put it in the chat. Send me a DM or something. Tell it to me on Instagram. Tell it to me on TikTok, Facebook. Put it in the chat. Tell me I'm wrong. That using soft power to get where we need to go is a good move. But I'll go even further. Again, why am I talking about this? I'm trying to make this connection between how China interacts with African nations for the benefit of China and Africa, to get us to see how we as Black Americans need to interact with China, how to interact with African nations. We don't control a nation state, so it makes it a little trickier. That's why I'm talking about soft power. We do have HBCUs. That's a national network and system that we control, at least to whatever extent that we can control anything that we set up in this country. As long as we don't have our own nation, which is what the Black Liberation Army was trying to do, which is what Nation of Islam was trying to do. If I would give them a shout out. If there was a Christian organization that was about that life, I would give them a shout out. I don't know of any. Feel free to educate me. Don't just get mad because I'm saying they ain't about that life. But we got HBCUs in the bag. We got them in our pocket, at least for now, if we continue to support them. But there's the key: if we continue to support them, because we are not supporting them a lot. Let's go back to this soft power. Our celebrities do more supporting of the strip club when they hop from New York to Miami than they do supporting the HBCU. But don't shoot the messenger. Think I'm lying? Why are HBCUs? You think I'm lying? Why are HBCUs still begging for scraps from the same sources? Foundations, corporations, Uncle Sam, that funded eugenics, police brutality, and ultimately the destruction of Black progress. Because ain't nobody else making offerings. Ain't nobody else trying to cut a deal. Maybe a raw deal, like Chuck D said. But it's the only deals out there. Now, we got Howard's Engineering School. If you ask me, they should be training Congolese students in mineral robotics. Where are the power brokers to make this happen? Like Khalim Shabazz says, we can win when we work together. We can win when we work together. Howard University's, their engineering school, they could be working with BRICS scholarships. They could be working with full-fledged BRICS scholarships. Did y'all know that China's building 15 universities in Africa right now? Did y'all know that China's building 15 universities in Africa right now? How come our black leaders, where's our black Ivy League counter move? We need to be pulling up alongside saying, yo, let's hop in. Let's take this ride together. We can form solidarity programs. Now, some people, sometimes they're called student exchange programs. Hint, hint. I hope you see where I'm going. Now, will somebody please send this video to the HBCU presidents and program administrators? Will somebody please like, share, and subscribe and send this video to HBCU presidents and program administrators and student government association members so we could get this idea percolating? Y'all remember Rakim, what he said? Shout out to only one. Let me see, what's the only one? Lisa Love just joined on Instagram. Shout out to you. Shout out to Kara. Shout out to Happy Star 5. Shout out to Enos. Shout out to Aiden Day, Sookwinder, Spartan, Deja, William Harris. I'm appreciating all the love I'm getting over here on TikTok, even though I can't even be seen on TikTok. But shout out to everybody. If you are still listening, feel free to hit that screen. I think that's what they told me. If you mash the screen a lot, then I see the hearts in some kind of way that's supposed to help the algorithm or my TikTok pockets. I don't know. But y'all remember what Rakim said, no tricks in 96, it's time to build. Well, what you waiting for, my people? No more tricks. It's way past 96, so it's time to build. So that's my piece on how we can use soft power through our HBCUs to build a coalition with BRICS and improve our own communities, our own educational backgrounds and offerings, and take this ride into the future with our motherland, Africa, our Kebulon. So strategy number 3 I'm going to talk about. Strategy number 3, now I may step on some toes again, but strategy number 3, here's what I'm calling it. Reparations as a Trojan horse. Yeah, as a Trojan horse. Now, I usually try not to use Greek references, but I think this one is a little bit more appropriate, so I couldn't help myself. Y'all know the number one argument every time you use the R word, they'll never give us cash reparations. Well, yeah, I know, I recognize, I understand this is the prevailing wisdom being put out there by most of us. I sort of fit into the oh, like hell they won't category. But, you know, when I climb back down off my soapbox, when I look at how we refuse to organize, when I look at how we refuse to organize, I kind of got to reluctantly agree, especially when you compare our efforts to CARICOM. Now, I don't really want to digress into this, but why is it that CARICOM can get together? Well, one reason they can get together that they are is because they are their own nation states. They have their own governments. But CARICOM has gotten together. They've created a plan, an outline, and they're working amongst themselves as nation states, as countries, to pursue reparations. We don't have a nation state. And amongst ourselves within our communities, we can't agree whether we should be fighting for it. We can't agree whether or not we deserve it, whether we are owed it. Now, that's me digressing. But CARICOM is out there making us look pretty silly because they're working on it. But what if we demanded? What if we did either A, have our own nation state, or at least had our own collective body. Even the Native Americans, the real ones, the Redskins, not the fake pretendians, but the ones that are actually here on reservations because they lost their war against the foreign invader. But if they can have a system, I think they call it Indian rights or something like that. If they can have a system of a governing body, we can set that up for ourselves. But what would happen if we demanded first rights to distribute African mine tech minerals in Black communities? Why don't we have, or if we do, somebody please point it out to me, where is our Black Silicon Valley? If we worked on these things, then suddenly Compton becomes the cobalt trading hub of the West Coast. Now, this isn't just fantasy. It may seem like it may feel like it. This is not just fantasy. This is how the Jewish diaspora built Israel's economy. How? They were organized. That's how. All you have to do is be organized. It doesn't matter what your goal is. If you're organized, you will get there. If you are disorganized, you will never get there. You're not going to stumble into a victory. So, what are we doing? Like, share, and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, share, and subscribe. I know I got to be saying something that's going to hit somebody in the head like, he got a good point right there. Now, this may be a sidetrack issue. This may be an off the wall digression, but I just got to bring this up. I thought I was going to share my screen, but I definitely got to bring this up. Let me see. Do I have I do not have, well, I ain't got it, so I can't share my screen. But I know y'all have seen, I know y'all have heard all these videos, whether you're on TikTok or Instagram or what have you. I know you've seen these videos that everybody is hooting and hollering over. And I just got to say, look, I don't know why we acting like all this China makes the bags for white companies stuff is some new world changing revelation. I mean, okay, maybe I'm showing my age. I thought we was all fully aware of this in the first place. I mean, I've been knowing since the 80s. So, okay, I'm revealing my age. I've been around here that long. But I don't care. I DGAF. I'm old. I'm old and I'm proud of it. So maybe the disconnect that I'm having, maybe it's a generation thing. Maybe it's just because I ain't a brand head. I ain't never been a name brand addict. I ain't never been a popping tags junkie. I've always kind of looked down on bougie brand aficionados, at least since the golden era of hip hop days. And even back then, I really wasn't into that kind of stuff. So, to some extent, all this China makes the bags, it's like, man, y'all really late to the party? Is that what it is? Shout out to Anatoly for joining me on Instagram. But okay, let me dial it back down a little bit. Let me get back focused. Because the real reason I'm bringing this up is, once again, what I see happening so much is we like to play checkers when everybody that's really about that life is playing chess. Why are we jumping at this low-hanging fruit about China making the bags? Why are we jumping at this low-hanging fruit? This checkers versus chess mentality, sometimes it really rattles my brain. We making TikToks. We having a field day. We making Instagram posts. We having a field day about how China is shaming. This I wanted to say white America. I wanted to say Europe, but I don't even think I can. When so many of us, our own people, are caught up into this mess. Also, like, I ain't castigating nobody. You know what I'm saying? But I'm assuming everybody heard how many Birkin bags uh Shorty got over there on the Breakfast Club. But all this brand shaming, all of this money shaming, I mean, to some extent, I think maybe it's a good thing. Because I really think you got a problem. If you spending $30,000 on a bag, I think there's a problem with that. But I ain't no dictator. I ain't got nothing to do with that. But this is very much a checkers versus chess mentality. And so, in that respect, I'm not mad that people are making fun of folk for doing this. It's definitely um, a shot across the bow at American companies, at European companies who now they've known they paying $5 for the bag and they charging you $130 for the bag, $15,000 for the bag when they paid $700 for the bag. Now, in that respect, y'all get what you get. All this making fun of, all this laughing, that's quite deserving in that regard. But I'm saying, I mean, we as a people, maybe I'm missing all the other ones. Maybe my algorithm is just jacked up. But we as a people need to be more critical. We need to be more aware. We need to be more conscious. You know what I would like to see? I would like to see on my timeline a ton of videos about TikTok. I'm sorry, a ton of videos on TikTok about how China gets the raw materials for these bags from Africa. Why are we not keying up on how Africa as a continent, as the mineral rich resource of Earth, and as us, the African diaspora, can take advantage of these exposes being handed out like beatdowns at a WWE event? That's what I want to know. That's what I'd rather see. I'd rather see the timeline being flooded with, hey, this is how we could take advantage of this. Here's how we make money moves, like Cardi B was saying. Because you know something, when you're dealing with culture, when you're dealing with business, you always got to be mindful. If the drum beat changes, ladies and gentlemen, the dance must also change. Now, if we was deeply rooted into our African heritage, we would know this Yoruba proverb and we would be exercising and activating on it. But if the drum beat changes, the dance must also change. It's time to change the dance because the drum beat has certainly shifted. That's without a doubt. We must adapt to the deeper realities behind headlines and not just clap for the drama. We ain't children no more. We ain't kids no more. It's time to dance to the deeper rhythm of strategy. It's time to dance to the deeper rhythm of strategy. And when we talk strategy, you can't never talk strategy and not talk about COINTELPRO. Because that's the psyop we can't afford to ignore. We're moving into section 3, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're still along with me on this ride, whether you're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Just know my home base is YouTube. That's where I'm trying to collect all my peoples, gather my tribe. Catch me on YouTube. YouTube.com/at the proper perspective. You can see it on the screen somewhere around here. You can see it on the screen right there at the proper perspective. Share this stream. So let me get this straight. While China and Africa move pieces on the board, what's trending in Black America? We got the Moors claiming America is really Africa because of some fool's misreading of a maritime peace and goodwill treaty. We got Adolf saying, don't vote for the Democrats because they haven't given us reparations. We got Adolf saying, we don't need reparations. We got Adolf saying, vote for the Republicans today because Lincoln was a Republican 200 years ago. Never mind the fact that the MAGA crowd today would rather lock us all up than even have the conversation about reparations. But yeah, we American descendants of slavery. Can we all bow our heads for a moment of silence for the freaking clowns who have entered the room? And then what else we got fumbling through? We got the craze of pseudo historians swearing that black people are the original Native Americans. This is a sad state of affairs. Let me be clear. Shout out to anybody that just came through on TikTok. I see the screen jumping. Let me be clear. The same FBI that gave us COINTELPRO in the 60s is now amplifying these divides, these conquer strategies through the algorithm. Why? Because a united Black America focused on resource control, that's the very building blocks to economy. If we are united, if we are focused, we organize boycotts that actually cripple Apple and Tesla. We build parallel trade networks with Africa outside of the US dollars system. If Burkina Faso don't need the IMF, then we don't need it either. Unified, we expose how Wall Street banks launder conflict minerals. The last time we were unified, we hurt them. The only reason they got the phrase blood diamond is because Black people all over the world unified and said, this ain't right. But COINTELPRO 2.0 would rather have us arguing over who's really Black than realizing Ghana's new lithium deal requires 30% local ownership, something we still don't have in Detroit, in Brooklyn, in Richmond, in the Black side of DC, in Houston. So we falling behind. This whole push from COINTELPRO, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you that's where it's from. This whole push, really, it's called isolationism. Now, this might be something that they didn't teach you in school, or maybe you had a real good teacher and they was teaching it and you weren't paying attention. Because let's not forget, or let me shine a light on for you. America tried isolationism before. After World War I, they said, we done. We finished with the world politics. We don't want to be on the world stage. That mess, that stuff backfired. They stayed out of global politics for so long. Guess what began to grew and bubble up in Europe? Fascism. Hint, hint. Sound familiar? You stay out of politics for too long, look what happens. So much so that by the time America decided maybe we should go knocking on the doors of the world political stage and see what's going on. And by the time they did that, the cost of that decision, isolationism, was World War II. I say all of this to say Black America trying to isolate itself from Africa, from the Caribbean, from global alliances. This is repeating Uncle Sam's tragic mistake on a micro level when you consider our 13% population and Uncle Sam's. But still, history shows that walls don't build empires, bridges do. Now, even though I can't stand that jelly bean eating, I see aliens nut job of a failed Hollywood actor. Y'all know what I'm talking about? The crack kingpin of the world, Ronald Reagan. Shout out to Killer Mike for that dope song that he made about Ronald Reagan. But even that clown had one powerful quote that bears repeating when he said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. That quote speaks volumes on this issue and is quite apropos, I must say. But I tell you what's even more apropos. An Akon proverb, ladies and gentlemen, and a con proverb. Let me get that hard A out of my system. You know what the Akon say? And again, if we were still rooted in where we came from, we might already know this. A single bracelet does not jingle. How does this apply? Isolation may look pure. Isolation may sound righteous, but it lacks the power of unity. A single bracelet, that ain't the move. Strength is in the collective sound, not soloism. Strength is in the collective. Strength is in the collective, not in the single, not in the singularity. That's what that proverb means. And that's what that proverb pushes us to do. Stop thinking about isolationism. You ain't getting no brownie points for cutting yourself off from the world. The end game for Black people should be dual power, dual power. Because the end game for everybody else is dual power. So just like 50 Cent said, get rich or die trying, get power or die trying. Because if you don't have power, if you don't have dual sources of power, you know what you're looking at? Extinction level event, like Busta Rhymes said. Here's the ultimate truth. Africa's population will be 2.5 billion. That's big B, ladies and gentlemen, by 2050. You know what that means? That means 1 out of every 4 humans on Earth will be African. Either we help shape the future or we become irrelevant. The play is simple but brutal. It's a couple of things that we need to do. Couple things that we need to do. I hope y'all feeling me on this. I said, at the beginning, what I said when I set up this channel, my goal is to do deep dives. I ain't trying to dance around the surface. I like to go swimming, ladies and gentlemen. Get as deep as Olokun if I can. But here's phase 1 of this get power or die trying. Every time you see made in China, remember that the materials came from Africa. Hell, half the time you see made in America, you might as well start wondering, because I ain't exaggerating. Was it really made in America? Because they let China make it in China and they just ship it over and let it get assembled in America and still call it made in America. So, hey, let me digress. All you software developers, you know what's needed? We need apps that track mineral origins the same way we got apps that count calories. Can we make that go viral? So people can find out, your iPhone, I don't care which iteration of it you got. Your iPhone is just a brick. If it doesn't have the cobalt from Africa. So resource transparency, we need to know it wasn't made in China, bought by China, made in Africa, bought by China, sold in America. So phase 1 of Operation Get Power or Die Trying is resource transparency. You know what phase 2 is? This is the one that's really golden. Dual citizenship. I ain't talking about going to war. Well, maybe I am. But y'all heard of, hopefully y'all heard of Ghana's year of return. It's old now, but I'm saying, let me build my case. So Ghana's year of return. Now, if you're of the pessimistic persuasion, then you might think it was just a tourism campaign. And I feel you. I ain't mad at you if that's your perspective. But let me lay this thing out. It really wasn't just a tourism campaign. That's where it was rooted in. That's where it came from. It came from the tourism industry. Didn't come from the Ghanaian churches. It came from Ghana's tourism industry. But it wasn't just about tourism. It was really a test run. Of what though? The real model isn't selling citizenship, whether it's for $50,000 or $250,000, like a luxury item, say the way orangutan is selling the golden passport. The model we need for dual citizenship is more aligned with what that country I hate to name is what stolen Palestine did post World War II. Is what Israel, if y'all catch my drift, did post World War II. They gave automatic citizenship or simplified pathways to those who are historically and culturally tied to the land. And they even extended this, although they fought like hell because they didn't want to extend it. But they even extended this to some Black Hebrew Israelites who left the U.S. and moved over there. So Africa as a continent needs to take a look at this. For African descendants, this would mean ancestral citizenship. That's what you could call it. And have pathways for the diaspora Africans who have ties to Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria, etc. That's something that's very real. You could have, I'm not mad at any country that wants to have diaspora development as long as it's non-predatory. Then you can work out some type of financial instrument, financial arrangement that helps fund infrastructure projects in exchange for long-term investment returns and dual residency status. I ain't mad at that. It's all in how you do it. But this, it's high time that we had some serious dual citizenship strategies. And ancestral citizenship, diaspora development, cultural and economic partnerships. Not just passports. Yes, let us build. Let us come home. Let us build. Let us vote. You can't have one without the other. Let us vote. Let us thrive together without demanding we prove our worth in dollars. Hint, hint. Excuse me for a moment because TikTok is trying to cancel my stream. Yeah, I think that might be it because they telling me this ain't right. Okay, so now it's back. And I still can't see nothing. I'm gonna try it this way just for a hot second and see what's going on. I won't be able to see much of nothing. Shout out to everybody. If you're still listening, if you're still following along, I appreciate it. I used to be a teacher, so I'm kind of long-winded, and I'm used to going on and on with my lectures. And I know I've had students fall asleep on me, so I know what's up. I know what's going on. But let me hit you with this proverb: the bird does not forget the tree in whose shade it sings. The bird does not forget the tree in whose shade it sings. Shout out to all my Igbo culture, my Igbo people from Nigeria. explanation of the proverb. What does it mean? A return to African identity must not be transactional. You know, I just saw another video where that was one of the themes today. A return to African identity must not be transactional. It has to be relational. Just as birds remember their shelter, we must build with reverence, respect, and remembrance. But as we come to build with reverence, respect, and remembrance, we must be greeted with reverence, respect, and remembrance. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. Shout out to anybody making that trip, making that passage back to the motherland. I got my paperwork today in the mail, so y'all know what's about to happen. But phase 3, like I said, I'm going deep. Phase 3, at least I hope so. The Detroit Accra axis. What you talking about? Okay, let's just simplify it. The Sister Cities axis, the Sister Cities program. Now, we can have Black America's factories if we ever get on the same page and start building them. We can have Black America's factories meeting up with African resource controllers. Imagine Ford's abandoned plants, because they abandoned a ton of them. Imagine if Black people got together, retooled those plants into hubs that could build electric buses using Congolese cobalt with profit split 50-50. There's your reparations package. What Jay-Z say? It's a businessman. What Jay-Z say? It's a businessman, or something like that. Don't quote me. Don't come hollering, shooting me if I said it wrong. I ain't Jay-Z anyhow. But I say all of that just to say, let me share these ideas. Hopefully, you hear something, it might spark some ideas. Like I said earlier, send this video to some HBCU presidents. I know there's something in this video that they could kick the ball rolling. Get the ball rolling. Here's my closing battle cry before I let you go, before I get up out of here. Because they want us either begging for reparations and spinning us like Don Quixote to make sure we don't even get it. Again, which is why we're supposed to be knocking on the doors of the UN, not Uncle Sam. Like Brother Malcolm told us, I'm going to keep saying it. But if that's not the wild goose chase, they want us lost in conspiracy theories. COINTELPRO 2.0, they want us lost in conspiracy theories. The earth is flat. America is Morocco. The sun is really under the ground, and the thing you see in the sky is not the real sun. All these weed-headed woke BS topics that garner millions of views, and in that regard, yeah, I'm hating. Meanwhile, China's playing 4D chess with African resources and about to make mincemeat of the Eurocentric global north. And yeah, I am with the crowd that's like, yeah, do it. But it's time to choose. Will we keep getting played by divide and conquer clowns? Or will we finally become players in the game of empires? That's the real question. This is Shabazz. The proper perspective. We don't do hope. We do blueprints. That's the deep dive I keep talking about. Now, if the software I've been using works the way they say it works, there should be some links in the chat boxes. But I'm not gonna hold my breath for that because the chats were supposed to pop up on my screen as I'm speaking, and I ain't seen not one message pop on my screen. So we'll see. I have to come back later and maybe drop them again. But share this stream, share this channel, share this video with someone who's still stuck on Hotep versus weed wokeism. Why? Because we got work to do. We got work to do. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Shabazz. This is the proper perspective. Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to get up out of here. I appreciate everybody for joining. I'm going to end now. So see me on youtube.com/@theproperperspective. And you know what we're going to do now?